Gruagach is a word of Gaelic origin, which literally translates to hairy or long-haired one. However, the actual entity to which this word refers is rather hard to pin down. The Gruagach is broadly considered to be a fairy, but throughout Ireland and Scotland, there is so much regional variation in the legend that it is very difficult to construct a definitive picture. In Scotland, the Gruagach are often depicted as female field folk who help human farmers with small tasks. They herd and protect cattle and also have an association with water. Sometimes they are depicted as beautiful with long blonde hair, but on many occasions are grotesque, weathered hags, but benevolent nonetheless. In Scotland, the male Gruagach is associated with a thick fur and is similarly a helpful farm labourer. This curious trait of thick long hair carries over to Ireland, especially Ulster. However, in Ireland, the Gruagach is almost exclusively depicted as male, and isn't so often considered friendly. The Irish Gruagach is a supernatural wizard and is often a giant. It's here where the links to other medieval European legends of wild woodsmen begin to become prevalent. In contemporary times, I would say the internet age, the elusive legend of the Gruagach has begun to be associated with the most infamous cryptid of all, Bigfoot. The best-selling author and cryptozoologist Nick Redfern was one of the first people in the paranormal community to draw parallels between the Gruagach and other wild man legends. The Cryptid Wiki defines the entity as a large bipedal ape-like creature, which to me sounds identical to descriptions of the Sasquatch. However, supposed witnesses of this ape-like creature describe it to be closer to a human. It is normally depicted with a small, wide, high-up nose, sometimes described as piggish, a mostly flat face, and a protruding brow ridge not unlike that of a Neanderthal. I should note at this point that we're now discussing an entirely separate creature to the original Gaelic versions of the Gruagach. I find it very interesting how the spread of knowledge through globalization and internet forums have transformed the appearance of this being, selecting specific traits and aligning them with Sasquatch legend. It's an excellent illustration of how a particular piece of folklore is formed in the first place, often from a grain of truth. This foundation is then shaped and moulded by the interpretation of different people with different life experience over countless generations. It's a mesmerizing process to contemplate. I don't really believe that there are a population of hairy wild men populating Ireland's wilderness. It's a relatively small island, and only 1% of it is actually covered with woodland. The argument has been made that, at one time, Ireland supported a variety of megafauna, but all I have to say in response to this is that the Irish elk, wolves and cave bears are long extinct, and there's a fairly obvious reason for that. Despite this, I do find it intriguing that legends such as this can crop up in the most obscure and unlikely places. The reports of the Gruagach in contemporary times range all over Ireland, from the Sperrin Mountains to the mysterious Ballyballagh forest, which is supposedly haunted by hooded druidic apparitions. YouTube channel and Facebook page Cryptids NI has documented supposed evidence of the Gruagach in Ballyballagh, from howls, footprints, and even an alleged sighting.
Yeah. I don't think you'll see it.
Looking over the videos and photos, I personally don't see anything out of the ordinary. But again, this evidence highlights that a few isolated witness accounts and pieces of fragmentary evidence are enough to kickstart a frightening local legend. I am always envious of countries with vast pockets of wilderness and uncharted territory, because it allows much more possibility for an unknown species to roam unimpeded by human activity. The rise of depression in young people is often linked to a missing sense of purpose or destiny, which was in the past regularly filled by religious ritual. I often consider whether a lack of wonderment and mystery about the modern world is also linked to this spiritual gap. In the days before maps, there was an unknown fear and excitement about what lurked in the dark woodland. Then, in the years before modern transport, there was a nervous curiosity about what lurked over the next hill. Even in the time before the internet was widely accessible, there was still a mystery about how other people behaved in their private lives. But now, at least on this planet, that has all but vanished. So, in my opinion, it is vital that we preserve and pass on our local folklore and legend, that we may rejuvenate our exhausted minds with fresh glimmers of the exciting unknown. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.